Gamer Dan, is that you? I see.
That it is. Hey, hey.
My gosh, I just wanted to let you know right off the bat, the Super Mario Brothers Wonder Direct happened recently. I didn't see it because I've been working like a dog. Uh, some days I've been doing actually 8 hours, well, beyond 8 hours, and yeah, I must say,
Yeah, I
yeah,
have. I have watched it last night. I finished work. I got home. In the middle of doing paperwork on my feed for YouTube. It popped up. I thought I gotta check this out.
well, I
I was
guess.
excited when it first appeared, and I am. I gotta say, it looks good.
Well, I must say I guess I'm in a deficit position right now, but you have an edge, you know what's going to be shown, so if you wouldn't mind, please guide me. I wouldn't mind if you were to talk over a few things, that's fine, because
Yeah,
as
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, yeah, the audience, of course, they can review on their own time, me too, but I'm here to get your input. Your input is actually what I'm here for, and I guess,
Always happy to talk. Always
yeah,
happy to talk games. It is nice to talk about your hobbies.
yeah, but yeah, games for us is it's a way of life more than it's a hobby, isn't it? I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
the
I gotta say, it stopped being a hobby when I started identifying with it. Once I started
yeah,
calling myself a gamer,
yeah,
that it was no longer a hobby.
it's practically a profession. Even if well, when it comes to the YouTube game, payment takes a while, but in some cases, but it's still my gosh, it pays us. It pays in delight, I'd say at the very least.
Hmm.
uh,
Absolutely, it's a wonderful way to decompress. It's funny, you see a lot of memes about women berating their boyfriends for sitting and playing games, and I just think if that's how he wants to unwind after a hard day at work, after you finish work and you just want to decompress,
yeah,
process your day, and just unwind, because you need that. The human body needs to unwind. You cannot work 24 hours a day. You need to sleep, you need to eat, and you need to unwind.
my word,
And do
absolutely.
it with a book, do it with sports, do it with a game.
Of
Either way.
course, it can absolutely wind you up when people don't let you unwind, wind you up further. Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, that's how people break. You
yeah.
snap if you can't just, let it go.
I gotta say, I'm glad that there are, let's say, ladies out there who, even though they may not, you have people like Professor Suzuka, you have people like
Hmm.
the missus who is actually not into games quite a bit actually. But now I understand. I've been speaking with my missus. I understand sometimes. Yeah, well, you find people who actually don't have the eyes for it. Like apparently, she's gonna. Some people have this thing where the image. I mean, she used to play the Game Boy, the black and white Game Boy. She used to love Kirby on that thing, but
Hmm.
and yeah, even the guy, what's the man, Yamauchi from Nintendo. He wasn't a gamer. Famously, he was all business, as Guru Larry would
Yeah.
say. But he would play Tetris apparently, and
Yes.
some formats work for people who are traditionally non-gamers and so on. But when as far as we're concerned, we're here for the lot. So yeah. No,
Absolutely.
yeah, I suppose we can jump into this direct and anything else I can save to the end. Here we go. Three, two, one. Is it too noisy? Let me know.
Ooh, so exciting!
What the
I'm
hell?
going to bring it down
Mario's,
just a touch.
yeah, Mario's voice. What happened? Oh yeah, Chris.
The Flower Kingdom.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I put on a little note in my community post that Chris, the dude who Marinetti, I think, he
Yep.
stepped down as the Mario voice, and I said thank you for your for playing a Mario in my YouTube community post. But yeah, my gosh, it's not the same. Oh no, you might as well get Chris Pratt in here anyway.
I I think he has served as well. He has been the voice of Mario for so long.
Mm,
He is as iconic as Mario, as you know, you,
mm.
Mark Hamill is as the Joker. It's He is the voice. When you think of the character in your head, his voice you hear. But time moves forward.
Yeah, he can't do it
These
forever.
characters are eternal, and voice actors aren't. So I'm willing to give this game a chance. I'm excited
Yeah,
about the game, and
absolutely.
I'm willing to just reserve judgment until I hear more.
I gotta say the one thing is sorry to interrupt the post, but just I want to give a special moment just for him. I guess I have more reverence for an actual new voice actor rather than an AI version of his voice continuing his work. That would be like, you know what? So anyways, sorry,
Yeah,
young viewers,
I
but I'm like, no, you can't do that. But hey, I guess who knows? Maybe Nintendo's being kind to him and he's going through some health issues. I don't know. He's aging, so. but he's
hopefully he's fine. Hopefully he's fine. And I would like him to continue working for as long as possible. But I'm not going to be bitter that if he steps away from the position, and I'm going to give the new voice actor a shot. Mario, traditionally doesn't speak a lot.
Yeah.
He's not his voice isn't a factor in a lot of the story. So he's kind of a link in that regard. We hear his utterances and his exclamations, but that's in gameplay.
Yes, I mean and the last thing I'll say on the matter is, let me see. When the Nintendo 64 came out, Sega had the Dreamcast coming up, and that's when you first heard Sonic. Hi, I'm Sonic, talking like this all the time, and that voice carried all the way to the movie. That's how you expected Sonic to sound like by the time the movie came out.
You're too slow.
Yeah, all that, and so the good thing about that Sonic voice is it's a tad more generic, but I think with the whole thing with Chris. The dude who plays Chris Marinetti, right? I believe that's how you pronounce it. Right?
So.
He, I guess, in today's climate, if you will, with certain people who take things in a problematic way, I guess the way he did Mario, that was in the time when you could just go straight into Goomba mode and say, "Hey, I talk like this," and but I guess, but I mean, I hope that whoever is doing the new voice actually lays in and milks it and keeps doing that whole thing. I know it's because the whole point of it is that it's funny. It's like if we're English guys, right? If somebody came along like Dudley from Street Fighter and kept talking like this, or Chris Eubank, whatnot, I mean, I think Dudley's based on.
He's based on a British boxer who was put on the airs, very polite and when he was a real dirty character.
Yeah, very Eubank, I think. But if somebody did that, I wouldn't be offended. Right. Yeah, I wouldn't be offended if I mean, people taking issue with representation and so on. And I just want whoever does it to keep the hilarity that I think Chris Marinetti started. And not to mention, I'm sure Chris Marinetti would be in the next Mario movie. He's Mario's dad, right? In the movie.
Yes, he is actually in the movie, and he does his role well. But I think it was even in the movie, I think it was a smart choice not to use the Marinetti voice.
Mm-hmm.
For a whole movie, I don't think I could have taken that. He's great with these utterances, with these sharp exclamations.
Exactly.
It gives character a kind of distinctive flavor to him. But we don't see Mario talking.
Exactly. Yeah. It's actually quite quite a non-charismatic character. Sonic has a lot more charisma, I feel.
Yeah, Sonic has a character. Mario is more of an everyman. He's supposed to be like the guy we can get along with, and if he keeps his mouth shut, we can imagine him being anything. Exactly. He shows himself through his actions. He's a noble everyman, goes out, puts in the work, and he rarely asks for a reward. So, yeah, I like him.
Exactly. All right, sorry everybody, I'll jump in, but I just had to give that moment for Chris.
Jump in. Yeah. I watched the opening sequence because the villain has a really unique take, and I want to talk about it.
Okay, well in that case, let me crank it just a little bit so I can hear just that, and then I'll bring it back down. Okay.
A not-so-distant land just beyond the Mushroom Kingdom.
Nice.
Mario and friends were invited here by the benevolent Prince Florian. But Bowser, the king of the Koopas, had other plans. With just a single touch of the mysterious Wonder Flower.
Oh! The Matrix, man. Ah, that's awesome. Oh, I love it. They really reimagined Mario.
Merged with Prince Florian's castle.
Bloody hell. That's awesome. Hey, don't slow down on me now. Anyway. What in the light? The blue blazes is going on, man. Everything is topsy-turvy. That's true.
His newfound power, chaos spread across the land. Now, it's up to Mario and friends to stop Bowser and save the Flower Kingdom.
This is awesome. Yoshi's.
I can see Nabbit again.
Yeah,
but Bowser merges with the castle.
Yeah.
He's a building now. And you're like, what?
That was such a clever twist. I think
I like that it's his magic that is infecting everything like a plant. They're like, it's the Florian kingdom, the flower kingdom, and he's like a plant now, worming his roots everywhere and corrupting everything. That's clever. But
very much.
how do you punch a building?
This whole world is. I don't know if the people made it thought to themselves, there's a lot of talk about Mario actually being in a drug-induced fantasy. Maybe let's just turn the whole world into a big trip and go the next 9 years. So, and I mean, of course, he's eating mushrooms every day, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely high or something. I mean, because the whole thing, I mean, the idea of walking through a world and stomping on turtles and being seen as a good guy, you must be on something. Where's Peter? But I was saying, wow, I love that word. Yeah, I was thinking, it's like this reminds me of the transition in Dragon Ball from Cell to Majin Buu. When now they're thinking to themselves, instead of being more scientific like they were with Galaxy and Odyssey, such as getting us on a spaceship and doing X, Y, and Z, they went into the magical side a bit more, and they looked at turning this trip into something of a. It's almost like a blend of magic and science in that the way Bowser disintegrated when he touched that flower. It reminds me of classic movies like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, when when whoever that kid was in Marty TV, he became scrambled in the air in a million pieces and it came down. All of that, and all of that in this case is blended into the magic world. So again, Majin Buu is right after Cell, and Cell was
it's kind of tied in with the name, isn't it? It's wonder. It's wondrous. It's magical. It's strange. Could be magic. Could be science. It's just a process that we don't quite get. And as you see later on in the direct, the highlight of wonder is that you get these items that make the world weird.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't quite know how it's going to work. I think like the character roster. Have you seen this character roster? It's huge.
Awesome. You see them.
Daisy! Representation, yes.
Yeah.
Two Toads and Toadette. That's 3 Toads.
But Toadette is Peach, right? Or I mean, in Mario World to Mario Land, Toadette can become Princess Peach or something of the sort.
Yeah, Toadette can use the crown to turn herself into a version of Peach.
Oh, it's a version. Oh my god, I should have.
Yeah, but I like the fact that Yoshi's and Nabbit are basically like easy version.
But you can actually.
They don't take damage. They have extra abilities. You can kill certain enemies that others can't. So you want to play the game? Play the game as Mario or one of the main characters. They all play identical, so it's more personal preference. But if you're younger, which Nintendo always skews towards, always be building that brand, give them a chance. Yeah, let them play as a character that can't die, essentially.
I see. Wait, which character was that you just said?
Yoshi's and Nabbit. The Yoshis and Nabbit can't take physical damage.
Oh, so that's weird. So, but can you ride Yoshi still?
Yeah. You can still ride Yoshi.
But he can stand on his own 2 feet.
But you tend to have, if you want to ride Yoshi, someone has to play Yoshi.
Oh, I see. That's clever, isn't it? So it's like, I mean, after all, you could ride your other characters when you started to be able to carry people in Donkey Kong Country, for instance. The thing, why don't we just...
Absolutely.
If I'm not to mention, even in the new Super Mario Brothers, you catch them through shaking the Wii remote. And then
Elephant, what?
Yeah. Wow, this is fun.
Gives him attack. He's bigger. He can just bulldoze through stuff.
This game is pure creativity, in my opinion, but so far, because it looks like they're not thinking business-wise. This looks like it's not driven on business so much in that. That's beautiful. The way his feet are actually plodding along as he's charging us. But I mean, if somebody was thinking on a bit, maybe a layperson was thinking about where could Nintendo go next with Mario, maybe, and they're thinking to do something creative. Maybe they think of combining other IPs or something. But this game is essentially Mario again, but it's gone in a way that it just looks completely new. Isn't it weird? I mean, it's essentially the same.
It's a total visual. Do you want to pause it for a second?
Yeah.
It's a total, as you say,
Sorry.
One
There's a
go.
total visual.
Defeat
Do you
Tinker's
want to
the
pause it for a
Impervious.
second?
Sorry. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that was weird.
It's true. It's true. There is a total visual overhaul. Everything has a layer of polish now. I mean, ever since the Donkey Kong Country Returns, we're seeing a lot of visual storytelling with the backgrounds. They've become a lot more detailed. You can see a lot more character in the locations by the foreground and background. But even now, this is a game with a surprising level of genuine polish. Every character has unique movements. As start, stop, slowing down animations. Very, very pretty.
Mm.
And I think this would be the new benchmark for Mario games, 2D Mario games. I think that it's been a while since we've had like a real upgrade. There've been a certain standard for a while. They've standardized it so much that they could produce Mario Maker and just kind of transplant pieces into and out of it, and everyone knows this is how it looks. But this is the next visual upgrade, and it works. I gotta say, when the first trailers dropped with the Nintendo Direct, I was bowled over just how good it looks. But I am so excited by some of these power-ups. Not the elephant. The elephant's okay, it's a bruiser. He's got an attack now as opposed to jumping on people. Fair enough. It's weird, but that's kind of the point of this game. It's the bubble. This is a game changer. The bubble ability allows you to pop bubbles out, and you can kill unkillable enemies. Like Shy Guys, you can never kill them. You just hit them, they break, they reform. Boom. That was just kind of the way things were. Now you can kill them. But what's the obvious thing you could do with a bubble ability?
Preserve yourself?
Preserve yourself, maybe, or...
Oh. Hop onto it.
Bingo bango. Just after this, it'll announce that, hey, you are now able to produce your own platforms to find the hidden places and get to unreachable areas. That's clever.
Yeah.
Nintendo played with this before on the Wii U, where the Wii U game that came out, I think it was only brought over onto the Switch. You were able to, people who used the pad were able to create platforms on the screen for the other players to use.
Oh,
that was a really, really good idea. It encourages interplay between different players. Someone's, the game master, the dungeon master of the level, and the others are playing through the level, and you can help or hinder each other. And now the bubble is like, hey, I can do this. I can, there's a level with a tough platforming section. Okay, go back to a previous one, grab a bubble. Make your own platforms across. It's such a clever idea. It works so well with the idea of what Mario is. Because Mario is the platformer. It's the guy who coined the term.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. People need to remember that, man. Yes.
He's been around so long, but
that's pretty clever.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a natural progression. When I saw the bubble ability, I was like, that's a platforming. And then boom, later in the direct, they show it, and I'm like, yeah, that is such a natural thing to do with this ability.
Yeah. Sorry, did I interrupt you? You were saying something about Mario. He's something when it came to the platform.
Oh yeah, he's the OG, but he's endured, I think, because the core gameplay has not evolved. 2D Mario has always been the sense of a beautiful blend between completionists and explorers. There's always been this deep, hidden secrets throughout the game. You have to find them, but there's rarely. The best secrets are never signposted. You just gotta do a little digging. Try this, go there. Oh, you can go above the screen and go to other platforms. Yeah. But the 3D goes a different direction. That's a little bit more, same feel. Like completionist, got to find everything and exploring. Oh, what does that do? But Mario, it's about exploring for me. I always loved that aspect of it.
Yeah, and just like you're saying with the 4 kinds of gameplay player. In what video? I want to recommend it to the audience, but I forgot the name of the video. It's from the Game Theorist.
It's not from the Game Theorist. It is from the theory is the taxonomy.
You say taxonomy?
Not taxonomy. Sorry, it's Just trying to find it now. There is a theory about the 4 types of gamers. There are 4 kind of archetypes to people who play online games, who play games generally. And there was a researcher who studied a number of early online games and found that there were thousands of people who play them, but they all tend to play them for 4 different reasons, and they all fit a perfect balanced ecosystem. You have more of one, you have less of another, and they all self-regulate to a certain degree. I will tell you what that theory is. Bartles taxonomy. That's it. Yeah, Bartles player taxonomy is a classification theory of the type of people who play games. You have achievers, people who want to get the high score, want to get the completionists. Completionists are pure achievers. They've got to find everything, do everything, and they just get the platinum, going for those high scores.
Right.
You've got explorers. I'm an explorer. I like to dig deep in the world, push every button, and go to every cave and like, oh, what's this? If you find a funny icon or a funny statue at the edge of a cliff that you thought there's no way you could get there, but if you kind of clip your way through and you're like, oh my god, I got to this place, they would never have thought that. Boom, there's a little trophy for you. They thought about you. They thought, yeah, this is something that explorers would want to do. You've got socializers, people who like to play games online together. They draw from the community. And you've got killers or assassins. These are people who are the trolls, who get that visceral joy out of screwing up with someone else's chance.
I've beaten you.
Yeah, it's like you got the achievers, go for the high score, and the killers go, oh, banana peel.
Yes.
Oops, did I do that?
Yes. Salty.
Yeah. So, but killers love achievers because achievers are all about getting the game, getting to a flow state, getting the high score. So ruining that pisses off the achievers, and that's the Schadenfreude that killers want. But explorers don't care about the game, so they don't care about completing the game so much as dissecting it. So they don't care if people kill them because they just reload and carry on. And explorers can often find combinations of attacks or combinations of items that create unique opportunities that killers aren't prepared for. So you'll find that explorers tend to beat killers more often than not, and killers hate that. So it's a wonderful little ecosystem that works.
Interesting.
But largely it's based around online games where you've got a large pool of people all working together, and these are the 4 categories. But people have taken this kind of dichotomy, this kind of structure, and applied it to gaming as a whole. Different types of games appeal to different types of gamers. We all like to play games, but we like it for different reasons. And this is a good framework for especially people who are getting into game development to think about how to structure a game. Do you want a game that gives you agency over the world or agency over other players? And then gear it that way, and you can see what kind of players that will appeal to.
That is I mean, that explains so much for. I'm glad that you said this on this channel. It explains so much for the nature of these games. I mean, you have parents who look at these games. I love this. I love this, man, so much. I mean, you got parents who, when they see kids playing Mario, what's that game? Mario Brothers Wii or something on 4-player mode, and seeing. I mean, I have little nieces and nephews. Now they're big, but I have no idea. I mean, some of them are still quite little, but when they're all small, they all play a game of Mario, thingamajig. Mario, I just said it. Anyway, Mario Brothers Wii, and you'd have that thing where somebody would throw somebody off the screen, and then a fight can break. Like, what are you doing? I'm trying to get somewhere. I had funny moments and then moments that are not so funny. You're like, okay, we need to take a break. But that game is designed that way to appeal to certain players. Yeah. And the problem is that sometimes when you say, it's a bit like parents to say to their kids, just watch TV or throw on the TV and watch something, or even watch a kid's channel on some platform or whatever it may be. There's always something there that a parent would not agree with. And understandably, but the creators of that stuff um, from a business, not just a business perspective, but an artistic level. They're thinking about the different kinds of audience maybe they're trying to appeal to. The problem is there's some, like you said, it's a bit like putting a mongoose and a snake in the same vicinity.
Yeah.
There are some people who are going to take issue with each other upon sight, and you have to maybe they like, I don't know. There are some platform games I think work very well, but for kids playing together and so on. But the parents may say this looks not so fun. Where's I haven't got it hasn't got the edge. But if you put that edge in there, then they'll get edgy with each other and start fighting. So the only way around it is to kind of teach kids to face life in a manner of speaking. These different characters are there. It's not always nice, but maybe in small doses it could be pleasant.
Yeah,
But
I draw a clear ideological opposition to the Halloween. I'm British. We're British. Halloween was never a children's thing. We watched Halloween TV shows and we saw Americans go out and trick or treating, but that was never a thing when I grew up. I never got to trick or treat. It didn't even start happening in my neighborhood until I was a teenager, until I had already grown out of it. But I remember watching American TV shows and seeing this kind of going out and getting candy. But it has fallen out of favor in American culture. In a lot of places that even started doing it, they have kind of pumped the brakes on it now, because it's the idea of kids going out on their own and doing that. But I think that there is a strong psychological benefit to something like that. There is a risk reward aspect. These children have to go to somewhere that potentially scary, and go. Once they get there, once they overcome their fear, they put themselves out there, they get rewarded. Or sometimes they don't. And you know what? That's life. Sometimes you put in the work and you don't get something.
That is so true, man.
It's such a rewarding experience for kids, and it's not a pleasant experience being scared. Yeah, it can be fun, but objectively, it's kind of a negative experience. But it's good to be scared a bit when you're a kid. It's good to read scary books. It's good to have your parents scare you to prepare you for the life, because sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, mate, exactly.
My parents, when I got candy for Halloween, they took a tax. My parents took a chunk of candy from me. They were like, hey, well, that's the tax. And you know what? That taught me as a young kid, hey, there's only 3 things you can trust in this world. You're going to die, shit's going to change, and taxes. Nobody likes them. But I also like roads and healthcare. So, you know what? I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. And I learned that as a kid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't believe that we should swaddle our kids. I don't, but I do think that we should be reasonable. I don't think we should be throwing them into the middle of nowhere with nothing but a knife and a gun. But I do think that the kids need formative experiences. They need to go out and they do things to show them the world. If you wrap your kid in cotton wool, they'll never be ready for anything.
I'm living proof of that. So I've been, sadly, I'm the youngest of 5 other siblings, and unfortunately, as my wife would often say, I've been a bit spoiled. People have been kind of covering for me quite a bit. And when I first came,
you're the youngest, I get it.
Yeah, and even now, probably not. You know my brother, and it kind of watch out for me quite a bit, and it's kind of handicapping. That is to say, I could be in a situation where I ought to do something for myself, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking somebody will pick up the slack, and I'm like, they really broke me. But I'm having to teach myself now a lot of things. Although they really helped. There's certain experiences that I'm happy I didn't experience. But on the other hand, like you say, it's a bit like a good parent teaches their kids how to hunt. As to say, you can't just keep giving them.
Give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man a fish, he'll live
just like in nature
forever. Yeah, I get it. I was the elder sibling of my family. I have 2 younger siblings, and I will say I did coddle my brother a bit, but I had a really strong relationship with him, and we used to debate and argue aggressively over pop culture. I mean, I cannot count the amount of hours we debated Dragon Ball Z. We watched all of it, and every one episode a week, one episode every day, and we would debate power levels, power scaling, realism, and it created a strong relationship, but it also encouraged him to stand his ground because I was his big brother and I would tell him this is what I think. But then when he backed down, I went, oh, okay. I would tell him off further, like, no, you gotta.
Oh, that's what it
No,
feels like.
if you don't agree with me, don't agree with me.
Yeah.
Stand your ground, even if you're wrong. You still have to stand up for yourself.
Oh my gosh, this is it, man. This is what these games are teaching us. This is what I really appreciate. And the word play is
What?
like we role play. We play a role in the base. We play even when we're watching a play. You know, like a theater. We all these. This is what I love about even this discussion we're having right now. We're delving into even hypotheses right now when we're looking at what this could be and so on based on our experience, and all of that is just playing things out. Again, the word you heard being play in our mind just to best prepare ourselves for what could happen. And when it happens, we just have to face it. So we'll see what happens. I got a feeling this. I mean, I don't know how this works. But Dan, can you confirm? Is this game technically able to be modified before it actually launches based on feedback?
Most games can be modified. It's simply a matter of cracking the security on it. It's one of the problems that big AAA games have when big AAA games are released. They include a load of DRM, a load of anti-piracy software. But if it's a popular game, people crack it in days, and then they stop. And then
Not by players.
once they broke it, but then they can start modding it. This one. It has like a modular aspect. I'll show you later in the video.
Okay.
But I do think that we should have a talk. We should have a nice discussion on the benefits and the detriments to gaming as a pastime. Because I think that outside of the physical ability of improving hand-eye coordination and improving memory retention, especially with Metroidvanias, you got to remember the map.
Oh my god.
You know, reasoning. I think there is a strong argument to be made that these popular games or some types of games, certain genres, encourage aspects of your personality. This is a pastime that is far more interactive. There used to be, there were passive and engaging pastimes. You did sports, you did activities, and then you watched stuff, or you listened to stuff, or you read stuff. That's you absorbing someone else's art, as opposed to you going out and engaging with people. Well, games are like this happy medium. It's a beautiful playground where we get these amazing, beautiful stories. We have to do. No one's going to do it for us. The game's not going to complete itself. Unless it's a bleeding mobile game. But I think that's why gaming should stand up for itself as an art form, because it has the capacity to teach, to educate, to inform, to develop young minds outside of simple button reflexes.
I trust that it will gain more respect as time goes by, because what ends up happening with new things, just like DVDs phasing out videos, and then Netflix coming in that space, or not just Netflix, things like MP3 or MP4 based files, online viewing, web services, and so on, overcoming that. It comes down to industries. I think this is what ends up happening: is industries or industry giants.
I think it's more popular in discourse because, unlike gaming, would be an entirely new genre, a new medium of playing. It's like you had books, and then you had novelettes, and they were kind of trashy books, and they weren't considered the same. But now we put those romance novels in the book category. They are novels; they're just a trashy version of a novel. And then you had films, which was considered a common man's entertainment. There's a great quote by Groucho Marx who said, TV has done wonders for my education because every time someone turns it on, I leave and read a book.
Groucho Marx.
Because, Groucho Marx, I love him. He's hilarious. But, that was the popular discourse at the time. It was a trashy, common, stupid thing to do. But now we can respect TV as a wonderful medium for great stories, for entertainment, for education. It is just a way of talking to people, way of showing people things. It can be trashy garbage. God knows there's more than enough of that. But it can be useful, and it is respected now. Gaming's not reached that point yet. It's still kind of a kicking ball. Politicians use it to try and win political points, and people. But we're reaching a point now where people who started playing gaming in the 80s, we're the adults in the room. We're the ones who have kids. And, your nephews, my godkids, they were raised on the internet, on this. They've never known a world without it. And that means that they see it slightly differently. Again, a topic for another day.
Yeah. Absolutely. I guess we should push on. Yeah, let's get back to it. 3, 2, 1. Oh.
And knock out baddies on the other side of walls.
Ah, nice.
You can even jump off them. Like
there you go.
Beautiful.
So excited about this.
Hard to reach places.
I really want to play it, man. But even just watching it, it's making my day. Drill head.
It's his mustache moves independently. It's all these tiny little things.
Just look at that. Sorry. No, I said go back, you nitwit. Sorry, my computer's messing with me. Look at that. The stash.
When he jumps.
Oh, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, his mustache extends. It's a tiny touch, but it's all these little moments.
Love this, man.
Or you can use it to drill down. It also allows you to burrow and move through the ground.
They really went to town with making Peach a playable character. I
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I think when she was the damsel in distress, yes, she was awesome. But I like that she's playable now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. For goodness' sake, there's a whole thing of girl power that I mean, not just for feminists out there, but just people just want to play and get a different experience of the game that she unlocks along with Daisy, of course. And I mean, I want to do a video about the game girl one day. You remember that short-lived spin-off?
There's been a few gamer girls, but statistically, it's always been 50-50. Even back when it was promoted to boys, it was a 50-50 split between girls and boys who played games. It's just now people acknowledge it.
No, I mean the game girl handheld device.
Oh yeah, oh god.
Well, they tried. No, they got it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like the Virtual Boy. They tried.
Oh yeah, oh man.
This is what I'm excited about. This looks amazing.
This is what I'm sure this is a drug theme. This is surely drugs. There's no question.
Yeah, so it's just a random stampede.
Yep, drugs, definitely. It's probably a plumber at work who ate something, and he's messing up the whole.
This is the one. After the free fall,
oh my God.
There is an option that looks really amazing. Perspective change.
Oh my God!
It becomes top down, like an isometric game. Like what?
That's swanky, man. But that's very Galaxy-ish. Super Mario Galaxy used to do that, right? But it's very.
This actually looks more like do you remember Super Mario 2, the 6 stars on Game Boy? The first introduction of Wario.
Oh yes.
It looks identical to that.
Oh, if you think
the balloon, that's pure Galaxy.
And that reminds me of the Super Mario World as well. When you get that power pill. Power pill, I think they call it. You know what I love the most about this is that it's like every department in Nintendo is lending their hands to make this a complete experience. You could simply just change the gameplay and call it a day, but the music is obviously the musicians have taken the time to make something special. This one, parachute hat. This is pure. This game looks like everything that a kid would doodle, but done sophisticatedly.
Oh yeah, it has that innocent, exciting, kind of explorational element to it.
I mean, the way that the way Mario's going now, I wouldn't be surprised if one game. Wait, what am I talking about? Maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but is there a Mario game where Bowser's a playable character?
Oh yeah, loads.
Yeah, so I'm thinking right now, Bowser being the bad guy, it's just like a rite of passage, but he practically is one of the family now, of course, for a while.
Yeah, I'm excited about this badge system because they had badges during the RPG games, but these are badges that essentially change the gameplay. That gives you an extra life. Sensor is find abilities. These are all optional abilities you can unlock.
It's awesome.
It's very clever, but why would you play the game invisible?
Yeah, it's like
Unless it's a boo level, I guess, maybe.
Well, I guess we'll see why. If not, then it'll be something that reactors complain about. It's true, playing the game invisible. The funniest thing about playing it invisible is
Equip them from the world
pointless
map
if you can't see
or
yourself, I
when
suppose.
starting a course. Or if
Well,
you
maybe,
don't make
maybe
it
I
through,
haven't.
grab a
I
different
thought I thought it
badge
through, but
and
it's a
try
bit like when you
again.
play at least Mario Kart. When you're a boo,
Some
when
badges
you get the
can be
boo
earned by clearing
item,
special
you're
badge
translucent, but
challenge
you're
courses.
transparent to
Yeah.
the other players.
While others can be purchased from Poplin shops on the world
I
map.
like to say
Be sure
there's
to
a lot
exchange
here that I'm
flower
excited
coins you
about.
collect
Very
in
much,
courses for badges.
And what's really cool about this is that unlike Galaxy and so on, where you'd have to change the perspective all
Up to 4 people can play
through and
locally
through
on the same
to
Nintendo Switch
experience
system.
the newness of the world. This is the 2.5D
Pick
system,
your
but it
favorite
still
character
looks very
and jump into
imaginative.
the
I mean,
adventure
Super
together.
Mario 3D Land and so on, you
If
can
a
switch
player
in
is
and out.
defeated in local co-op, their character will float around the course
let me
as
see.
it
No,
goes.
Super Mario 3D Land.
If
You
a
can have
player
moments
Yeah.
where
reaches
you
them
can
before time
all of a
runs
sudden
out, they'll jump
you're a
right
2D
back
mode,
into action.
2.5D mode, and then you're
Group
back
won't
in
lose a life either.
3D Land. But this is a
And just so you
2.5D
know,
game.
if someone is playing
And-
2.5D is an interesting term because it's been used to denote a number of different things. There's a Yoshi.
Yeah, sorry, go on what you're saying about 2.5D.
But when you say 2.5D, I think of 2.5D as Banjo Kazooie. Crash Bandicoot, sorry.
Oh.
Crash Bandicoot. That kind of, you're not 3D, but you're going down a set path, but you have kind of options within that path. But honestly, I think I'm the minority in that regard. It's not, that's the term, it doesn't denote that anymore.
I see. So would you call this a 2D game?
Well, I think this is a 2D game. In my brain, this is a 2D game, but it's the 3D elements within it. 3D would mean a third dimension. You're able to move
Exactly,
any
that's a good point.
direction. Only moving left and right in my brain, that's how I conceptualize a 2D game.
It's true. I mean, think about it. If you cannot touch into the 3D element properly at some point, it's effectively 2D. In this game, you're really interacting with the two dimensions. Or one? No, it's two different.
Up and down, left and right, up and down, and that's it. But with a 2.5D, you might be isometric.
I think, yeah, Mario 3D Land would be 2.5D.
Yeah, but lots of the 2D Mario games have got 3D functionality. It's just an expected thing now.
Yeah, I mean, again, I definitely classify if it were to use the term 2.5D with Super Mario 3D Land, well, because you definitely I think it gives you a chance to dip into that third dimension a bit more. But whereas here, as you say, they restrict you a bit more in the layout. Even when you switch perspectives, you're still playing it. It's like switch from Mario to Zelda mode. But this is fantastic. Ultimately, no matter what.
2.5D for the 2D Zeldas might be more appropriate when you've got the kind of top-down, you're moving around a 3D area, but only in lateral movements. Link to the Past, but then you've got 3D Zelda, which is just fully moving around. Breath of the Wild, Twilight Kingdoms, Ocarina of Time started it all off.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the whole Nintendo 64 was a bit like with. I think with Nintendo 64, that was strange what we're doing this there, but beautiful man. What am I saying? Yeah, the whole thing with the Nintendo 64 is a bit like what Nintendo was trying to do with the Wii. We've got this new platform. Let's take all our IPs and Wii-ify them, or 64-ify them, or 3D-ify them in some way.
Yeah, 3D. It was the advent of the 3D age. The PlayStation 1 was coming out, the N64 came out, and everyone was pushing into the ability to use 3 dimensions. A lot of crap. Pardon my French. Yeah, it was a new age. People were aggressively pushing into that. Oh, that looks beautiful.
Beautiful, man.
If you look closely, you'll find Mario and some hidden coins. Nintendo Switch.
Nice touch. Let me see what's going on. Uh-oh, we're coming to the end. Alright,
that's the end. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Thank you, Nintendo.
I am excited about this game. Mario's a benchmark of quality. There's a fun joke in a comic I like. It said that they wouldn't release a Mario game unless they sandblasted every pimple off of Peach's ass. They won't release it unless it's absolutely perfect. But that said, it does produce a fantastically well-made product.
I think that's it. Yeah, but I think the fact that Nintendo's known for like treating the IP so seriously is what I think is what I think Nintendo is actually one of the last companies that provides hope for the game industry in terms of I, you know what I'm not we've been over this a lot many times
You
with
said
this.
that when you say hope for for the industry, have you heard about the controversy or at least the debates going on around Baldur's Gate 3?
What's that?
Baldur's Gate 3 is like the third of the Baldur's Gate series, and it's an RPG, but it leans heavily into D&D rules. So if you get, make an encounter with someone, you have a dialogue tree, and then you want to intimidate them or woo them, you got to roll your dices, and then using your character stats, you could do or don't. And then there's lots of kind of battles you can play out, and it's apparently just fantastic. I mean, the score is like 94, 95 on Rotten Tomato, on the game aggregate sites, and it is just a stellar, incredible creation. And it doesn't lean into any of the AAA palaver. It doesn't try and nickel and dime you with microtransactions. It's just a really, really good quality game. But this game's been baking for about 5-7 years. It's been on the books for a long time. It has thousands, tens of thousands of dialogue options, of character options. You could play through the game multiple times, and it's almost an entirely different game.
Mm.
But people are arguing this is the new benchmark. And a lot of some indie creators have gone, hey, that's not fair. Hey, they've had almost a decade of work. They have 400 staff. They have the D&D license. Well, the game they created was excellent, fantastic. No one's denying that. Everyone loves this game, but you can't expect everyone to do that kind of game. That's AAA done right. And the indie games are like, no, we can't afford that. Some companies produce one, maybe two games, and then they die because there just isn't enough interest in them to keep them alive. But there's just a whole ecosystem of smaller creators trying to create great games, but you can't produce a Baldur's Gate 3 at that level. And it's the same for Nintendo. Nintendo will always have the next game in production. The moment they finish with one, they're already moving on to the next one. They have perpetually been working on Mario for decades now, just continually working on Mario, meaning that they've refined that formula to the point of absolute glimmering gold. It is polished to so beautiful you can see your face in it. But you can't expect that of smaller companies. Nintendo produces its high quality games regularly. Every couple of years they bring out a new Mario, they bring out a new Zelda, and they are amazing. But they have the pedigree, the work, they put the time, the money to afford to do that. Smaller game developers don't. They are on shoestring budgets. They are small crews. They are people living off of passion. And you get you get these middle managers, you get companies, publishers, producers, workers who are like, hey, come work for us. We won't pay you, but you gotta have passion. Taking advantage of people trying to get into the industry. People, I imagine it's the same for the music industry. A lot of companies taking advantage of smaller creators who trying to do what they love, trying to just create, but they get squashed out by bigger entities.
So here's the thing. The reason I brought up the whole Nintendo being like a hope for the future is that when it comes to these indie developers, which we've had discussion about before, there's talks of, one thing that can give us an edge is using AI, because hey, I guess if we can't hire so many people, why don't we program our computers to program it for us? The problem with that is once you rely on AI, your work becomes a bit soulless, and people, it's a bit like the, what do you call it, the uncanny valley with the eyes. When you try to deceive people to thinking that something CGI is real, people's eyes are sharper than people give them credit for, honestly. What people realize, and we're able to detect the fakes. So what happens is, if you have, what are you going to do? Like, if you're an indie developer, if you haven't got the money to invest in a bunch of people, you're going to have to use whatever you got. AI is that thing. The problem is, like, I have some students who are excuse me, they always talk about their perspective on AI in the future. AI cannot. There's some things it can't do. It cannot make decisions when it comes to information. People who work in data, for instance, they feel that their jobs are so secure because we have the ability, like I was talking about with facts and the truth and all that stuff. We have the ability to discern what the best thing is to do from our perspective in the real world, based on the theoretical world of computer data and all that. But when
we need the data to make decisions. So data is a pretty solid industry because people will want data to make their decisions, and so there's always a market for people who can generate that data or find that data.
Exactly. So, sorry,
I think that we need to draw a clear distinction between when you say AI. I assume you're talking about the more modern interpretations, the chat GPTs, visuals, because when I think of AI in games, I don't just think of character AIs or enemy AI. I also think of roguelites. Roguelites as a genre are games that the game itself will generate the map, and each run will be different. But that is at its core an AI. It's a game-based AI that you program in all the factors you want. It's this level, this level, this level, 3 of these, and then you get a boss. And then the kind of art scheme you want for different kinds of levels, and then you want to randomize the items you have in it. And roguelites have had a massive, glory days. They're still going strong. Less now, but the last 10 years have been roguelite du jour. There's just a massive market for it, and it's so much more beneficial to smaller creators because of that AI generation, allowing an algorithm to build the world, to build the characters, as opposed to manually doing it. There will always be a market for the single player. There'll always be a market for finely crafted, well choreographed, well structured, well written, well directed characters. It's like, Scorsese will always have a market. If he brings out a film, people are going to watch because we know that there's a benchmark of quality. But adding this AI, the classic AI, into games worked because it was, as you say, a tool to allow smaller companies to put out product, to do that. They didn't have the work, the manpower, the time, the resources to make a great game. And then I'm thinking of like The Binding of Isaac. That was nearly a one-man show. Undertale is arguably one of the greatest games in the last 10, 20 years because it was so well crafted, so subversive in its intentions. That was one guy. But he did not do all that alone. He bought assets, he used AI, he used technology, computer resources to help him build that thing. He didn't do it all alone, he had help. So I'm not adverse to the idea of using AI in production. What I am a little bit, as I think you are, a little bit concerned with is a reliance upon it, a necessity for it, putting it all in the hands. And then if you go onto Steam or you go onto marketplaces, you get these guys who just buy maps, buy characters, buy assets, get guns or enemies from a shop, put them together, use a little program to randomize it, and then try and sell it. And it's just bottom of the bin garbage just for a quick payout. It's it's what's referred to as an asset flip. They're literally buying the assets and flipping them to sell to someone else because there's no talent, there's no effort put into it. And talent is an asset. Talent is a skill and a resource that you need to make these games great. Nintendo are careful with hiring. They don't hire everyone, and the people they do hire, they tend to hire internally. You get into a smaller project, you prove yourself worthy, they give you more opportunities to show yourself, and you slowly work your way up.
So it's real in that regard.
Yeah, because they want to build that talent. They want to know that you are someone who can handle making a game of this quality.
I think that's it. That's it, mate. That's it. The tradition of even Japan's and the perfect country for that to happen because they're really keen on hierarchy in the workplace, and you go through the ranks.
It's hard at the beginning. Here in Japan, it's crazy hard at the beginning if you want to make a name for yourself, if you want to do something. But you're completely right. Yeah, once you're in, and they will help you do well.
Yeah, for sure.
And that works.
And that's it. And because of that, I think, and thank you for expanding on the whole thing of AI, so people won't get misconstrued. Well, misconstrued what is being proposed. But yeah, I agree. I'm saying when it comes to legacy companies like these that actually take their artwork quite seriously and the talent and actually use real talent, you you won't have all these fantasists, in my opinion, who think that AI is going to take over everything. The reason why they keep saying that, I think it's because they want it to happen secretly. I think at the end of the day, no. I mean, if just like we said about like with the adult industry, porn. Anyway, if you're talking about deepfakes taking taking over, you haven't been to the hub, man. There are categories on the side. You'll just find, like you said, another category, and then that's just like when people suss things out. It's a bit like going fishing with bait, and fish get wise to you. They just avoid you.
The only time that I think deepfakes would be a genuine concern would be in politics, because I do feel that in a lot of countries have become very divided. We live in an age where we are struggling. We are struggling, and people are angry, and they need a place to vent that frustration. And offering people an out or offering people a scapegoat is great. I think that deepfakes would work in politics because it's reaffirming what they already believe.
Confirmation bias.
Seeing videos of politicians saying horrible things or belittling other party or doing crappy things, that would just feed into an already existing structure. It's them versus us. Yeah. In any other medium, I don't see it taking over. I don't see it being that much of a problem because it'll just be another category. It's a new tab now. Exactly. We've had shit like this before. When I was young, I remember people plastering the faces of celebrities onto porno pictures to make it look like, oh, look, they're having sex. And you're like, well, I can see the outline. Yeah, that you cut out the face.
And even, I just think, even if it looked super real, again, it comes down to real life confirmation. That is to say, can somebody reproduce with that thing? No, it's fake. Even if it was if you went all the way down the road to the future and made some bio robot thing, I'm pretty sure if you had a child with it, it would not be the same thing as a natural born human. So after a while, people will suss it out. But the good news is that politics is, they say, upwind or downwind from culture. Politics follows culture. Politics follows. So that is to say, the more people get grounded in real stuff and let that lead actual culture, the less fakery in politics will actually be able to get a foothold. That is to say, if people don't value the things that people consider as virtue, I don't know, the things that people consider signs of virtue, in that would be propagated. Oops! Oh my gosh! Let me just stop sharing. my Chrome just kicked me off. It just shut down sometimes.
That's all right.
But so if people don't value what the deepfake video is to show, let's say this politician was stealing. If society didn't care for that bit of activity, people say I don't care. Then it'll be powerless and usually you need something to stand in its void. You can't just say people won't care, but people will have to actually care again about the good old-fashioned things that word of mouth confirmed, not just confirmed, people actually eyewitness accounts and so on of actual things that we take seriously, whether it be in the world of this good old pop culture like we have right now with games, or indeed as it trickle all the way into politics, or be commandeered by politics, if you will. But
I don't mind the idea of AI. I think especially AI generated content, it could be quite fun. It allows you to create some pretty impressive things. There's a certain skill to it. You have to make sure that you're programming the device right to produce the image that you want. There was a guy who last year in Italy who he produced a picture using an AI generated device, like a website, and he put it up into an art competition, and he won. And then after he won, he said, yes, I produced this using this program. And people said, oh, well, you didn't produce it, you should be disqualified. And he said, well, no, there was a skill to it. I didn't just put a few words in and to take the first thing. I went through 900 iterations. I spent weeks and weeks and weeks refining and polishing this to create the image that I wanted this is the image that I took. I took instances and then I scanned them and then rescanned them and rescanned them, and I made this image. I may have not physically created it, but I still crafted, I directed this image. And I think that's something that people don't tend to talk about. These are tools.
Exactly.
AI is a tool, and it still requires a guiding hand. If you just put a bunch of words into a device and it pops out an image, you're like, haha, that's cool. But if you want a good image, that takes time.
Absolutely.
That takes skill. That takes talent. And that is talent that can be replicated in other forms. So I'm not too scared about AI taking people's jobs. But I do think it's a new skill set. It's like when, people started using computers and then older workers were like, oh, I had to learn to use the keyboard. Yeah. And it was like, well, this is a skill you need to have for work now. It's a little annoying to relearn a whole new thing, but it is a thing. And then internet came out, and now, how could you even have a job without a social media presence?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't have a social media presence. I'm not on most of these social media apps. If I got a job in a more, in a more public-facing position, I'd have to learn to do all this crap.
Dude, you said it. I think that's it, and that's what happens. Truth a lot, man. As time goes by, people naturally, no matter what I say, people naturally realize, like what you say, that this is simply an assistant, and you'll have to guide it. It's not a gun that shoots itself kind of thing. It's even if you want to program it to do so, I tell you, you still have to program it to do so.
Yes.
It's to say, it's one of those things that just like I like what you said about the you took that story further about the man who won. Most people take the tail end of that story and run with it. He won through AI, and that's it. No. He actually had to guide that bloody thing because it can't even see images for one, and he doesn't know what's good or not. Exactly.
Yeah. The computer has no idea. He had to put the work in, and he kept the prize. I do think that there was an addendum to this article that said, the judges reviewed his case and went, you made this image. You may have used an AI generator, but it was your image, your creation, your inspiration. And it's like inspiration from all kinds of sources. Apparently. Who's the singer, the ginger guy who sang Shivers and Your Body? Ed Sheeran.
Oh, right.
Yeah, apparently he's been sued, like, many, many times. Like, multiple times. Like, every time he releases an album, he gets sued for stealing notes or stealing stings or stealing elements of songs. Like, it's based on a song that I did years ago. And you're like, well, there's only so many notes. Exactly. And there's only so many rhythms, and especially in pop music, it's very formulaic. They're all kind of based on one another. So at what point does it become theft?
Yeah.
And at what point is it just homage? I think it's a difficult question to make, and I think genuinely that people who are worried, you were right. You were absolutely right. People who are worried about AI are trying to lay the foundation for when they use it to screw people over. They're like, hey, we warned you about it. You're like, yeah, but you're still screwing people. Well, we warned about it. This is a thing that's going to happen. We warned you that people are going to do this. You're still doing it. You're still doing the bad thing. Just because you warned that people are going to do the bad thing doesn't give you carte blanche to do the bad thing.
Bloody hell. Yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to seeing the next headline about this. I mean, you know what? We'll see. I mean, companies like Nintendo are very much respected for having people actually put in the work to make the works. But I gotta say, when eventually Nintendo says this game is assisted by AI, I mean, for goodness sake, like you said, when it comes to that term, it's not a catch-all. It's always been used. I'm sure there's AI in Mario for a while, but not in ChatGPT style. But
it's not a generative one. The difference between classic AI in games and current gen AI is the AI in games is programmed. It's Goomba activates once it reaches a point in the level. Goomba's programmed to keep moving. Hit object, turn, go back. That's programming. And then having a branching AI is basically, when it meets this, it does this. When it meets that, it does that. When it meets this, it does this. And that's how you get great enemies. They've got multiple attack patterns. You know the kind of things they're going to do, but they might throw a left field at you. They might catch you out. They might even work around your own defense. That's AI. That's intelligent, but it's not generative. It's not creating a new battle strategy. It's only using the strategies you program more effectively.
Yes.
And the generative AI is scary because it's able to create, and that was the purview of us. But I do think that companies like Nintendo, big companies whose IP are their lifeblood, will never lean so hard into AI that it becomes a major player. They'll use it in small instances to create, work mock-ups or early artwork or something. But it'll be their creation because they need that level of quality control.
That's it, and
I just don't have it.
That's a good point. I think that's it. I think what we need to know is to prove it. It's just there's something of a human touch. You can sense. It's a bit like Morpheus in the Matrix. You can feel the Matrix. You can feel it when somebody's cheated. And I admit I've cheated myself quite a bit in my past, but I am happily to say that I was spotted more often than not, and I maybe have to go back to the drawing board and just do something the old-fashioned way. There's something about, I think it's like you're saying, the fact that AI doesn't know how to make decisions with data based on the nuances of what you're actually dealing with, something that you may have not even told the machine, or you probably couldn't if you were to look at the situation deeply enough to get the response that you're looking for. It's something that I think gives us hope. I think most of all, just like I think I told you before, AI should, when it comes to driving, I think AI, if it was used to teach rather than to try and replace, it would be the greatest thing. And I think this is what games actually have a great potential to do. If you put that, because imagine you make a Street. I haven't gone into Capcom in a while. I mean, I'd love to do it with you, but let's say Street Fighter 6 has new realms to the difficulty level. It's one thing if I mean, I could win a Street Fighter game on hard mode, but after a while you begin to know how the opponents fight and so on. But to be honest, I haven't really played 6. I mean, of course, I haven't played 6, but I'm pretty sure I could win a game on hard mode. But I wonder if, I don't know, just like you have AI that can defeat chess masters, but it doesn't mean that they're invincible for that matter. I'm sure there's a set of moves to defeat them, the AI. But if you put AI into a game that, but make it just easy enough that you can get the better of it, and then to train you to be a better player.
Yeah, it's a training dummy.
Right, and then smarten it up, and then have you defeat it again. All of a sudden, you could potentially create a fleet of geniuses who could players who can actually take on AI in some instances and tap into those blind spots that AI can't reach. Such the best decision making.
It's inspiration. I know that in gaming there tends to be a variety of different strategies that are used, and they're being codified and codified as time's gone by. Footsies, air defenses, stuff like that. But AI will only know what you input it. So the more you input gameplay with them, the better it gets. But AI tends to default to, 10 go to line, 20 go to line, 30 go to 10. And it will just do that because prescriptive ability. And one of the great joys of watching high level gameplay, especially in fighting games or combat games, is that inspiration, that spark of ingenuity of using things outside of their own initial creation. There's a great story about Super Smash Brothers Brawl, how Yoshi used to be considered quite a trash character, quite a low tier character, until one day he went to a tournament. This was early 2000s, late 2000s, and he started gaming really high level players using Yoshi because he came up with all cool new strategies, and it was kind of dumb. Yoshi has the ability to swallow and make an egg, and that for a few seconds you're trapped. So he would bait opponents into the edge of the map, then go, and throw them off the edge. Boom! I just keep winning. And I was like, how are you winning with Yoshi? Oh yeah, because he can make eggs. And it was like, oh yeah, just taking an idea and just laterally thinking instead of sequentially thinking. A computer can't do that.
Yes,
I do think that the one thing that I believe would make for the most intelligent version of a generative or adaptive AI would be turning it into a search engine. If Google implemented a kind of AI as opposed to just a word association thing, but it actually started, you put in a few associated words and it gave you options, and then over generations, over years and years of people using AI as a search engine, that would create an incredibly intelligent
So give me an
AI.
example.
So I use this simply as an inspiration from a comic book I liked when I was young. But it had a version of the future where everyone is wired in and plugged in. It was kind of a cyberpunk-esque type thing, and the only true AI that had essentially achieved a sentience started out as search engines, and the idea was that humanity would perpetually refer to these search engines. Hey, I want to find this piece of information. Can you find it for me? But there are layers there because hell, humans are difficult and complicated and weird, and we may be looking for something adjacent to that. So we're using words to find a piece of information. I take example in this video. We've talked about Ball's taxonomy. In the screen next to me, right here, I brought up Google and I started putting in keywords that I knew were adjacent to it because I couldn't remember the name of it. I knew it was a taxonomy. I knew it was based on games. I knew that originally it had 4 suits as opposed to 4 names. He denoted the different players with, hearts, clubs, diamonds. And I kept putting in those keywords until eventually, boom, up came a thing referring to Bardell's taxonomy. And I found it, and it was that free association of words to an idea. There was a thing I was looking for, but I was not using a direct line, but I was using associated words to find it. And I think that if you teach an AI that kind of association, you would be the first steps towards creating generative, true kind of sentience, the ability to freeform, to laterally think. It's like you said, we've been talking about AI can do things really, really well, but it can only do what you ask it. If you can teach it to do things that you're asking in an esoteric way, that's the kind. I think that's a good foundation. That's a fertile soil to grow a true sentience.
Yeah, I'd agree. Again, ChatGPT, I use it quite a bit these days just to generate example questions for students and so on, or sentences. I can ask it something and it can kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's off, and I'm like, I even write swear words in there to test it. Said, "What the hell is wrong with you? I said this." And it's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, and sometimes it'll just try its best, but it'll fail. In fact, I had the dumbest experience. It's got this thing about we can't violate our rules nonsense. I can ask it to say which 50 Cent song did he say this word, and I asterisked out the word. And then he said, 50 Cent said F so-and-so, I think brains on drugs or whatnot, in this song. I said, aren't you not allowed to use bad language? I'm sorry. Okay, so I said, okay, so tell me again, what's the name of the song if 50 Cent says this? And it gave me the answer with a curse word in it again. I was like, are you stupid or something? So I'm like, so if I write that, you'd say you can't break the rules. I'm like, okay. So it's got this kind of restrictive loop. Sometimes it's maybe it's more capable than it realizes, but it's got this. It doesn't realize it's defeating its own purpose with the way it goes about solving things sometimes. And like you said, if it could just cotton on to that, and which humans could do too, it would be a very interesting thing. To me, this whole thing. By the way, Dan, talking with you is like a. Thank you so much. This is a great chat, and I think people will appreciate this. I saw the Matrix Resurrections. I mean, I know a lot of people are giving it crap, but I just said I got to see it. I love when people hate something. That's exactly when I want to see it. It's like you say that's crap. Okay, I'm gonna watch it. So I actually saw it, and I got to say, I appreciate quite a few things about it. One particular thing was you probably haven't seen it, but there's essentially an element.
I haven't seen it, so no spoilers. Okay. But you give me the thought, but not the specifics.
Okay, there's a part of it where they talk about, let's just say, AI being on our side.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, all right. I'm thinking that's obviously where we have to go in this whole thing, because you can't be. I don't like DVDs. I like VHS only. And after a while, naturally, there's going to be some things that you just can't do with the old-fashioned way. Even with Neo's powers. But the whole point of Neo's powers is to highlight the value of the value of being able to survive in a world where you ought to choose what the system is pushing on you through logic and reason, but simply through love, his love for Trinity. Of course, he
Yeah.
just decides to seek
I also like
vengeance.
that theme. It's never really championed. When you talk about the classics, especially the classic trilogy, you don't see many people talking about how great their relationship was. It was her love for him that proved that to them, to himself, that he was the one. At the end of the first one, it was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. I can do all these amazing things, but I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But she believed in him, and that made him believe in himself. And then their relationship was the cornerstone of his entire journey.
Yes, and that's
And
it.
I
And,
like that.
that is exactly, I think, the whole message of hope that I was leaning towards. It's the idea that there's something in us as people in our relationships that that both rings true for us, but that may be denied. It's illogical and denied in the world. Like I said, the difference between facts and truths. Truths encompass subjective and objective evidence to something, and if you imagine if you both subjectively believe something in the manner that it ought to be disproven, it's funny, and it's not just a case of you're both deluded or necessarily, or you're both just believing in something that is a load of hooey, but it's something that actually ends up being true in a manner that is beyond what evidence suggested. That makes you think that, all right, so maybe we should have ascribed to maybe a higher power that can guide us through the problems life presents to us beyond what our amazing machines seem to feel that, or have given us reason to feel that only they can solve, only the system can take on. What we have something in our talents, in what we have as real beings.
Science and math can tell us how the world functions, the underpinnings of mathematical truths to reality. But human condition is, as you say, a dichotomy between the subjective and illogical. We are both a logical and illogical species. We can hold a dichotomy. We are working paradoxes, because as much as we go in one direction, we also go in another direction. We are self-defeating and self-sabotaging, and it doesn't make sense. But it is the ability to be many different things that allow us to be anything. There's a great quote I like that said that a man without God doesn't have nothing. It's not nothing. He could be anything. It's if you allow for any opportunity, you could grow in any different direction. Instead of saying this is what we are and prescribing a specific direction. Even in science says this is what biology is. This is what a cell is. This is what DNA is. You're like, great, okay, but the combination of all these cells makes a person, and a person can be more than more than the whole.
You said it.
But I do think that it's this dichotomy that makes us human. It's why we can believe such ludicrous things with such passion and fervor. It's why we can do such stupid things so earnestly and honestly, with such genuine intent. We don't want to be dumb. We just happen to be dumb. And it's, it's the combination of the two. But I do think that gaming, I swing back to this point. I think gaming is a perfect medium to address these ideas, to have the hero ultimately be a villain, to have the actions you're trying to do be so self-defeating. There are games that have begun to touch on these ideas, and it's such an interactive medium. The game is pushing the player to actions that they may not agree with, and then where's the line? Are you playing a game, or are you the avatar in the game doing these actions?
What are we? That's another thing. What
are we? I mean, when you're watching a film, you're watching a protagonist, watching a character be taken through a scenario, a setting, the hero's journey, and then it's a satisfying story. Great. Not in games. You are the protagonist in the game. Even if you're playing a role, playing a character, it's still your actions that define them. Are you a cowardly character? Are you a careful character? Are you a bold character? Are you a dumb character? You're the one doing it. And I think that these questions of human identity, of personality, we can play with them with games, as a medium, as a visual, as like a video entertainment can be a way to touch on these things. Just as it's a great way of entertaining education.
I highly recommend checking out the movie, man. It actually talks about games quite a bit, so I won't say anything else. But
Yeah, I think I might binge that now actually.
I'll go, man. Yeah. Well, I guess I have to wrap it up here, but
Sure.
hopefully, who knows, if we have time to catch the direct and live stream it, that would be cool.
When is it? It's tomorrow, or I think.
Yeah, tomorrow, Monday.
I think so. I'm just checking it now. The Nintendo Direct, upcoming Switch, September and October. The Wonder Showcase was just dropped. Yeah, if I can find it, I think there is one coming soon, but I don't know the date. I think there's one coming like tomorrow.
If it is tomorrow, then confirm it in the line chat, and then
will do.
Thanks, mate. Well, and also if you don't mind, put in the chat the links for the 4 suits of the 4 types of gamer. I'm gonna put that in the description. And well, I guess I have to run now. But thanks so much, man. I really was longing for that chat, and yeah, looking forward to catching up on the direct and so on.
No worries, buddy. It's always good talking with you.
Yeah. Well, in that case, peace out. Get your Madonna.
Peace.
Next time. Yep.